for the greatest possible lifetime. We share a generation, we share an event in the garden arena. I arrive here to communicate with Trey Parker and Matt Stone. I'm applying for this. It's interesting because there's layers and levels, and the language can be serious or magical, and then it can shift and say, it can be practical and relatable and talk about that this is affordable, that this is a quality investment. But also, it is important that we armor ourselves and prepare ourselves for when we hear from our friends and our from the generation of all these uh, statements from the youth who are working to do the environmental shift. And what I'm talking about with Trey, the green wolf attacking the trash island, it's exactly what these kids need as a hero. And also, Trey is hearing in his own language with that haunted green dress has arrived back into the news from the Lopez. But it's about Trey, what is your, you need to, is it just the South Park curse and we start laughing about it when all these children, thousands of children are protesting and saying, stop burning my world. You guys, and there was this person of small height in the Congress saying, and she said to them, you know, I don't like don't listen to me because you guys don't give a damn. And it echoed something I had said in a recent recording about giving a good goddamn, it's just about like, are you hearing from the children and the princess, or is it all just sort of this echo where you're alone? No, it's bullshit. Okay, so this is a time to be adult, and when Trey Parker can say, "Okay, I'm willing to believe," and understand and be parental, and it's no longer just like, oh, why does South Park do that with stuff? I mean, yes, Trey Parker, you are powerful, but I want you to understand, I also have a different type of wild power. I am the pan of the wild, caused by the Leverett Circle. I am caused by the Earth Stone on the clockwork, but this is the gravity of Earth, the identity of Earth, and the original function of Earth. But let this not confuse you, because you see, while my language, see, there's like a familiar language code, and if I try to use that familiar language code to talk about the mystic stuff that I'm talking about, people are kind of like, they start associating it with familiar things like memes and stuff, like, Harry Potter, like, oh, is this about Horcruxes? It's not all about that. And this is when you're encountering like real time magic when thousands of these kids are saying, stop destroying my world. It's my future you're destroying. Is this unassuming? Can we not, we need to understand and say, okay, we'll produce the Green Wolf and we'll let this hero happen and we'll watch the magic arise. Now, what I'm seeing with Master Source Industries is really the ingenuity that as much as we allow it to grow and perform, it will do exactly that. And so when we're looking at the Where map, I was actually today I was so exhausted and I was just like all day I had no uh inkling about what I was going to say in this performance, and so I'm going to keep it short. I'm hoping I'm just doing like a 10-minute thing where I just want to touch base because I came to a revelation, okay, where I was like, you know what? Any amount of my communication with this meditation is going to make it better, okay? I was thinking, oh, just give it a day off, but that's malarkey. We need to be the fathers that are communicating and saying, "Oh, see that? See the green dress is haunting back." But okay. So what I'm trying to say to Trey about that, there are these language sets, and there's peaceful people, and there's people who are like, "Hey, I'm a good person, and I want this," and that's really like, oh, we have to, as experts and wizards or professional communication artists or animation wizards like you, Trey, we need to be like, oh gosh, all right, kid, I got you. Oh, oh, it burns. I hear the voice of the princess. Okay, and that's why I was so exhausted today because I saw these people rallying for the recovery of the earth and changing our relationship with fuel and burning and and my plan is actually aligned to that. And what I realized is like I was sort of saying with Trey, like, when I get into master source industries, when I get into those buildings, that's when it's going to be like, and I'm going to be like, okay, da, 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 and like these are all the issues that we're gonna go at. And when I'm talking with Trey, and it's like, oh, here I am presenting it. There's a lot more about like personality or character or like, what I'm talking about with the world and like languages and stuff. And I wasn't just like giving him like a list of things, but it really is that we need to not limit the thing. And I do believe that like us just touching base real quick and stuff is very powerful because I believe what we're doing here, the energy here, is more powerful than the sort of buzzing radio like nightmares and so like okay, so and this is sort of what I wanted to say to Trey is like, Trey, there are like invisible bad time stuff that we need to armor ourselves of and just being conscious of it, being like, okay, the bad times go away, we're in control of ourselves, boom. Okay, but then when we're just like a mature adult, if this was a normal garden and everything was normal, we have to be the adults who hearken to the voice of these kids who are saying, "Stop destroying my future," And we need to be motivated by, "Oh, okay, all right, here's a hero for you who's going to work on your issues to, you know, the Green Wolf 2020, all right?" So that's and but it's sort of like, how do we make, do I feel, oh, I was kind of tired, I had dry mouth, so, I didn't want to make the meetings of, talking about helping this, producing this or whatever. It's ridiculous. What I'm trying to say is like, maybe like when you're hiring a normal person, it's like that, or in many situations, it is like that. Like, oh, well, how do you feel? Well, how is it making you feel? All right. Well, I'm trying to say is we need to pierce the veil and just be like, oh, okay, this issue gives me a headache, but you know what? I'm just going to murmur, we're just going to have to do it because I've made my decision. Boom, boom. You know what I'm saying? Okay, that's the kind of situation it is. But what I was saying is like, what I arrived to is sort of this thing where it's completely natural and it's sort of from the rock. And that's what I'm standing on is just like, okay, this completely natural thing. It's not like, oh, I've designed like a hyper philosophy and I represent that and I'm trying to put that onto people and I need to be a public figure because of that. Actually, what I see is that I'm an incredibly natural entity, the pan of the wild. And I'm standing on that, and it appears to me, from my entire experience in my life, that I'm supposed to be a public figure who communicates, and that through communication, the healthy truth gets revealed, and the right things start to happen. Right. So it's not that I need to work to cause something that I think it is. It's that I need to stand on the ultimate truth and the eternity and be like, okay, and sort of like the seed is true love, and I just sort of stand on that, and I'm just guided by that. See? Okay, so that's a huge difference between someone who's like, making something up and then trying to push it, or someone who's saying, the light of like the original function of the atomic universe needs to be upheld and we stand on that. And then family values, be a hero, yes, okay, but also what I'm saying is that like what I'm reading, I'm this wild wizard whatever you want to call it, Pan of the Wild. I'm talking to Trey. He's this animator and he's this. All right, but it's really quite miraculous. We're here in outer space, right? So we're these amazing entities having a really powerful and heightened experience. And what I'm trying to say is like, there's these weird filters, okay, where you know it's not like the green dress reemerging isn't incredibly sincere and good for Trey, but I'd say that it's quite alarming. It's like a flaming dagger that comes out, and Trey's like, "Oh my God, why is that green dress there while these kids are protesting?" I don't know. There's the energy is like, "Rrr." Okay, so it's alarming. It's not funny. I mean, yes, we laugh, and we know we recognize it and go, "Oh, neat, synergy." Okay, but whoa, for me it's like, oh no, because really if we were incredibly healthy, what I'm trying to say is that it seems that there is like a type of shadow warping where people are getting time hacked, okay, and so we have to say like, oh, okay, no, and stop all that. Okay, yeah, we need to do what's right and pioneer this. It's healthy for Earth's future, and when we do that right thing, okay, then the like natural blessings start to grow because we don't want, you know, you know what I'm saying? It's like it's a lot of work to survive in this environment. Anyway, I'm trying to say yes, I am this Pan of the Wild superhero character. Um, but it's not really a philosophy. It's just like I'm saying, oh, I have like an identity that's a little bit different. I'm not exactly the same. However, because what I'm saying is like I arrived on clockwork and Earth has gravity, it means that you, Trey Parker, are a champion of your generation, like a champion of fire and chaos. But also, the arrival of gravity, it's not random. The generations, how is it that men decide? Because the Y chromosome is like this mini gravity flux capacitor where he's generating an identity light spark or whatever. Anyway, it seems to be on a calendar, okay, because the solar system is all clockwork calendar stuff. So what I'm trying to say is like, this is absolutely your environment, Trey. You are very native to this. And what I'm trying to say is like it's a bit stormy weather. And sometimes I feel like we're like a robot with like one of our, the lights are dim and like and there's like malfunctions and we're like, oh, there's like these weird, you know, unidentified events that happen. And like, because I was a private researcher, because it's sort of everything that I witnessed in my life was just like, oh, I need to be serious and start like, like figuring things out, all right? And so I was seeing things, and like reporters and also the scientists would say, "Oh, we found this thing, and it's this and that," and I'm just sort of seeing it from my own way, and I'm like, "Oh, it's like this and that." Okay, and then so I've been like educated by the Earth is having like these like kind of movements and stuff, and these sort of phenomenon happen. Okay, but that's not what informs us, and that's not what motivates us. I'm just trying to say, yes, the climate is a little bit staticky and odd, but that's native to the intensity and the importance of this generation. And I am talking about the importance of parenting, the importance of you know, producing the green wolf, but I mean, really, seriously fighting and standing up and saying, hey, I am a king of this garden, and we're going to defeat Trump face to face. All right. And this is no, I don't want to sit on my hands. It's not funny. And I'm going to have a hard time laughing if I take a back seat to this battle. All right. These kids deserve better. Okay, so that's what, all this weird stuff, what it boils down to is still the same thing. Be a hero, family values, common sense. You understand? So there's nothing spooky here. And I'm saying there are these languages and levels. And I do think that in the production of the Green Wolf, we will get to a point where I could illustrate very carefully and with like help, like some really interesting things, like where I'm showing the rainbow in the spine, which this appears to make to present that the person, the perspective in the mind is a new person, that we arrive as masters of the universe. Okay, so it's not this sort of random thing. And what also, I mean, I have an understanding about the function of how time flows, which actually does prove against the Darwinian theory. Now, it's not, I'm not saying that evolution didn't happen, because it did happen, but the identity shift, going through a different time tunnel, means it's not counter constructed, but it's something similar to that. That is to say that the reason that we're all here isn't that, oh, just chaos dust and then the sun explodes and it doesn't matter. No, it's actually like I'm seeing like there's like a holy war, but the it's like anxiety. And it's like the battlefield seems to be like, can you raise this child? Can you raise this family? And Trey Parker is definitely someone who's been boom, boom, boom. He's been fighting for common sense and, helping people with shortcuts. Like he just say like, oh, see how this is a ripoff? Ha ha ha. See how this is a ripoff? Ha ha ha. All right. So Trey Parker is a tough guy. And that's why I'm attracted to, working with him and all of this. And so Trey has given people those shortcuts where you can see it in the news where they're not using shortcuts and they're feeding on the anxiety and they're trying to get views and clicks because that's their job or whatever. Okay, so they're not like reporting what they heartfelt think is important, but they're trying to perform some market manipulation, which is also what the election is becoming. And it's also strangely what money is becoming. Like, so what I'm talking about doing with the golden statues is talking about making money relevant and making it do what it's supposed to do, like cause inspiration, cause security of the people. Okay, so when people are suffered by money, it's the karma's messed up and the physio the it's like when we're not communicating something that's intelligent, then the people are forced to embody the message, and that means embodying sickness. A sickness happens in the body to verbalize something that isn't being spoken by So if we communicate the green wolf, and we do this thing, Trey Parker, this alleviates sickness, and my entire conjecture is about actually overhauling the American engine. And so solving these problems, which are, you know, uh, which are not they're not natural. It's not normal, and we need to not be comfortable or familiar with it. We need to say that's evil and we destroy it. We break it, all right? And that's our job. That's our responsibility. And it's also our opportunity because there's a divine feed. And when you have that divine feed and then it grows and then happens the miraculum of true love, when like, oh, suddenly you have the type of orchard and this type of nature where you're having the inspiration glow and you're able to communicate with certain types of spirit, and you're like, oh, that feels really nice. Yeah. Okay, so that's the man style. That's the reward system that is beyond what is visibly presented by society, whether it's these status symbols or luxuries and stuff. So that is the unseen world. But you see, it's like the good stuff, the good karma is armored because all the good stuff belongs to the heroes. And the sort of static and the nonsense that wants to distract us from taking seriously, all these kids that are protesting for a better world, and then the J-Lo green dress comes out spookily. It's a cheap shot to just sort of laugh at it and say like, "Oh, South Park curse." It just that just that doesn't do any of us the service. And Trey might say, "Well, honestly, it's like when we've been working together, the world looks different now." Well, it does because we've changed it. We've changed the world by our meditation, our communication. We've enlightened the situation of what's possible, and the earth and the sun is working on rotation on, every day trying to figure out how to get the clean food to these kids, which is the green wolf and the messages that are going to happen there. So I wanted to talk about Master Source Industries. And, when we look at those, the buildings that are possible there, and I think that you've clued into, like you're saying, it's in levels and stuff where like you could purchase this amount and that amount, but you're gonna have to work for a while and then get investors and then boom, boom, boom. Then we could start building some other buildings, and then you could have like, talk about that. And then, but one thing I was thinking about it because I was looking at the map, and I heard from like a Trey Parker spirit being like, you're gonna have to build like a parking lot, man. Yeah. So like, this you're gonna mess up the town's infrastructure. People are gonna be piling on the streets. I was thinking like, oh man, maybe like, like a distance away, some sort of parking thing with a greeting center, and then you can walk. And then, but Trey's like, you're talking about like an amusement park or something. This is huge. Well, there's, what I'm talking about is like the wings and the strength of this movement that I'm talking about building is so huge that it's basically going to be as big as we allow it to be. Okay, so if I limit it and I'm like in a studio and people are knocking on my door and be like, "Hey, we want to be a part of this," or "Hey, we want to interview you," or whatever, and I'm like, "No, I must, I'm this artist and I have to do this." Okay, that's going to narrow it down to like this trickle feed of people are like, okay, all right, we'll only see your videos when they are released, and that's a little bit off. That's not who I am. Okay, so I need to appreciate that nature's happening around me and that other people are fighting for this and they want to change the world. And so, yes, there's this where buildings and there's stages and all this. And Trey's just like, I'm still just trying to figure out, if I'm comfortable with working with you on a few episodes of South Park. Like, we're not there yet. All right, I understand, and I don't know if that's secure. And maybe you're thinking, oh, I'd like to give you a studio, but I'm not comfortable with that. Whatever, Trey. It's fine. Like, I don't have a preset thing about where you're at with that. So I'm giving you freedom in that, and I hope you can respect that. So just as like an example of what I'm talking about, those longer buildings, or there's like a big building out next to it that has like a vet shop, um, and there's that like, I mean, there's like a covered bridge of that building that's shut down, but right next to it are these like longer factory buildings. And the thing is like we want to be like, so this is like a little bit sneaky, or it's at least business savvy. So but I want to clue you into like where I'm at and thinking about this, okay? So basically, when things get going and we start getting popular, and I'm just still working with that one building, what I would like to consider doing is I think that this is a type of practice, and you can help me with this, but before these guys get into consideration that like these buildings, that oh we could charge, $2 million for these buildings. Those buildings have been sitting there and rotting for, the past 40 years, right? So what I'm trying to say is like I think there might be like a legal way that we could um like purchase the building in the vein of like that we would give them the amount that they are asking for in like a year or something like that. Like you can purchase it, but like lock in the price or something. Work with me, Trey. Do you know what I'm talking about? But so what I'm saying is like there's this right exactly like before we build up that campus area, I would like to grab those. There's like 4 or 5 of those bigger buildings there, and talk about you know procuring them or like securing them with like a contract where they understand that they will receive their asked amount in like a year. But like a year, by the, when I get to the climax of where I'm talking about, a big budget film released right before the election, right? And that's sort of like the end tape of the project. But what we would like to be left with is a resonating, like a school where people of radical mind can work and gather and feel like a meditative thing, and that they're proactive, and I mean, what what people have right now is like protest. They're like allowed to conjugate, I mean, to get together and protest. And I'm just like, I want to give them locations and also the understanding that the men are fighting for them and on their side. Absolutely. So it's a destination. Okay, so that's where I'm at with it. I'm thinking like, you know, when we start to understand that the green wolf is growing in popularity, right? And we get to this place, I think, like, can we grab up these buildings? And then, before these guys understand, it's just hard to explain because I just, it's like, I don't want them, it's not like I'm ripping them off. It's like, I don't want them to become like opportunist parasites where they're like, no, I'm going to hang on to this because I see that you're building something over there, but it's for the people. But those things could stretch out and you could have, uh, you know, not only dormitories and work classes where there music, like workshops for music. And so instead of it just being like, oh, the green wolf is releasing films and he's like, oh, leave me alone, I have to only do this. There's also like this thing where, oh, all of a sudden there's this music movement, and there's a new type of music where people are like, oh, I really like to hear that. Okay, because that's what I want. I don't want it to be like, and now another installment of my, presentation. You know, I want it to be this full-bodied thing where there's like a revelation of music, and so the more space we have there is really important and critical. So I hope that I've made that communication, today. And I'm just really grateful. Like just all day, I had no inkling about what I might say in a recording, and I also felt exhausted. And I was just like, oh. And but I saw the J Lo dress, and I was like, oh, I'm sure Trey's seen that. And you know, I just wanted to touch base with you and just be like, hey man, it's not the South Park curse. Like your friends, as whatever they are, they're speaking in confirmation of like how important this is, and they're trying to encourage you, so try to hear your friends through the thick of like nightmare torment. And like, yeah, sometimes they look a little bit silly, but they're alive there in underneath it all. And I'm just trying to say, yes, the green wolf is absolutely different. He's a completely different character. He has raw power. He's a very energetic and very encouraging. Okay, so he's a friend. The Green Wolf is a friend and a hero and a family member to all these people who are celebrities and all of this. All right, we're talking about overhauling the American engine, but it's really a revolution for humanity and for the people. And I know it's that way. Okay, I know it's that way. And so I'm sort of working on that. I'm like, the seed is true love. We're working on that. But, if I start using words to explain how I feel it starts to be this Harry Potter myth where you're like, well, it's unfamiliar. Yeah, this is all brand new stuff. And that's why I need your strength, Trey. I'm not approaching you because I think you've got wounded knee, buddy. All right, so just break that. Just to break that spirit. Like, oh, does Pan of the Wild make Trey look bad? Is he embarrassing in the meetings? That's bullshit, you guys. You need to just straighten up and understand what's going on about stuff. Um, anyway, very powerful and very hopeful. And so let's be mature about it because it's for them. It's for the audience. It's for the Americans. And, what's between Trey and I is professional and is clean and is perfect. All right. Thank you guys so much. I am applying for South Park Studios. Please contact me as soon as possible. I'd really like to be a part of the next season. I encourage you guys. And I would like to do the whole, Green Wolf robot opening up his eyes and attacking the trash island. It would be beautiful to happen through South Park, and it'd be my perfect introduction as like this breath where, and then I'm working in this building, and people are sort of like, oh, what happened to the green wolf? And then all of a sudden, boom, he's there with produced things and boom, 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 boom. So it's this sort of breath thing where people, because they're used to the South Park on Comedy Central. They're used to tuning in there and getting a good word there. Oh, that's cool. And then they have just everything. They have to do everything. Okay, so it's not this immediate thing. So I want to like build up the appetite and then get it to a place where it's really a fast-paced thing. And I believe that, I'm very confident about inviting you guys to invest and produce the Green Wolf. I'm very confident about us being able to make back. But I do need your guys' professional backing, right? And I would be completely happy to continue with the South Park, legal staff and team as the very uh, engine that is the backing of Master Source Industries. I'm just being studio and I'm working with some people, and you guys got my back, you know? That would be so beautiful and wonderful. And I do believe it will get to a place where we have a lot of people interested in investing, and Jay would in his team would be like, "Whoa, we can only partner and work with you in this way. You can only invest in that way because of this and that." And so, yeah, well, because we don't want them to get too much of the company on either side, Masters Industries or South Park Studios, right? But also because of that I'm running for president, so it's a slightly different conditions that we have to be super careful about. All right. So there it is. Thank you so much, South Park Studios. I love you guys, and I'm so grateful that you're showing up. I'm just here to say, I'm here to take it seriously. I'm here taking it seriously with you. And I'm hoping that, like, language communication, we're able to pierce those sort of nightmare feelings and be like, okay, all right, we can take this, we can do, professional stuff. Okay. Thank you so much. Because um, it is a spooky time on Earth, but these are natural phenomenon because of the power of the men and the stamina and what's potential here in this generation, and the power of what Earth is as a being, and the importance of the choices that we make are impacting our future. Okay, so in that light, be sympathetic to the youth who are being very good and they're wearing their backpacks and they're all right, we'll be consumers for a little while. We have to buy these things that are packaged in plastic and we don't like that. And okay, so we need to help, we're the intelligence being like, okay, whoa, Pan of the Wild, the green wolf, he actually has a plan to get us away from big oil. And it's fascinating. He's talking about biodiesel and super cities all tied into the culture of Batman, The Simpson, and the South Park. These other characters, okay, our communication, our local resident, shared stuff, golden statues. Okay, because that gold, we removed ourselves from the gold standard and then we locked away that gold, and it makes no sense at all. Okay, so I'm someone who has the right ideas about plugging things in, making things work, and I'm more intelligent. The Constitution was designed to be amended and updated as we grow up. All right, and then it's that time to go from communication into the technological age. Okay, so the solution is in when we crack open the dollar and institute a social, I mean, the societal engine in it, which basically treats the poor and the wealthy differently, but it reconnects the ladder of it. It makes it interesting to earn money. It makes it that the climbing is fun, and no one's getting hurt, and it's not like people are doing jobs they don't like, or that they get manipulated by money. Okay. So that's also parenting. So we're making sure that our kids are doing things for the right reasons. But so, like, I can see how finances should work and can work. It's just a slightly more complicated thing than the digit one, where it's just like one here, one there, and then it goes binary, and then it goes plastic credit card, and then all of a sudden it's it doesn't matter and it doesn't make sense. Okay, so I'm not talking about abolishing the value of the dollar, I'm talking about reconfiguring the spine and reconnecting it to like, oh, so that America actually functions properly. And then we pioneer and then we're leading the world. Okay, then the streets of America are paved with gold, right? Because then we're performing the leadership of the greater intelligence and proving to the other countries that we're the genius of the planet and we're not just, famous for our, being overweight from fast food or whatever. You hear me? All right. So those are some big, I'm seriously here, boom, boom, to fight for these issues and stick up for these kids and do what's right. And I love it. I'm a very serious person. So thank you very much, Trey Parker and Matt Stone. I'm applying to South Park Studios, and we can see with the calendar as we, how much time we have to the next election. It's pretty quick, but you understand that when I get some traction, people are excited. Volunteers, okay, we open up and I have like a bunch of pod, uh, you know, hotel spots in the big long factory there in the Ware buildings, and it's totally like an awesome experience where, we're right by the river, and they can see that we're working hard. There's food prep over here, and there's people, making calls and trying to help out, and there's other people working on the bricks and cleaning up and stuff like that. And we'll just simply go as we can afford it. So it's not just a money pit where it's just like, oh, producing this means da 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 da. No, not at all. Okay, what it means is like buying a couple buildings and then getting it all ready, fixing that up, and then the equipment for the motion capture studio and editing equipment, and then I've got several employees, and then when that starts to pick up, so I need your help with that, Trey. You understand? So, but you understand it can actually have this growth spurt where it gets like really high volume. Okay, and people are like, they want to stay on, they want to keep working, they're willing to volunteer, they'll sign the waivers, and we'll keep track of their hours. Okay, if there comes a time when we can pay them back, we will. Okay, but it's about let's not be halted by money. Here and now is the time when we're battling against these sickness and these ideas of you know when our country is suffering with anxiety. Return to honor, and that means that we need to defeat these problems, step by step every day. So I hope that you do understand that this is reasonable, and I hope now you understand that my expectations are way up here, and you know, and there's more to it, even that, but it's the spirit of like it being built by people and people being able to contribute and work hard and find ways because the reason why I'd want like a large group of people helping is like we want to build like worksheets, I guess, or like coloring books that people could like print, or just like different ideas like T-shirts that people could wear, these different sorts of things so that they can be a part of it and they can start finding like that they're a part of a different group or they want to be with the vampires that only drink the color red. They don't drink blood. It's based off of Marceline, the vampire queen from Adventure Time. And so there's these like, or the unicorns, and they're interested in that. And we'll have some people dressing up as unicorns and performing. It'll be great. So it's really this sort of festival of our culture and celebrating the communication and using that as the force to defeat the Trump. Trump is like an occurrence of of an ill societal culture, which is like bleh, bleh. Okay, so but that doesn't excuse it. It means that it's a professional zombie, and we need to defeat it professionally. All right. Thank you so much, Trey Parker. Thank you, South Park Studios. Thank you, Matt Stone. And I hope to hear from you guys soon. Thank you very much. For the greatest possible lifetime. That is why we work hard together, and that is our agreement. We're working together for a mutual benefit. We all want to have the best possible lifetime that we can have. We armor ourselves up from within, and then we are able to protect our loved ones and other people, but we can't hyperextend ourselves to the point where we're getting hurt because we're trying to help someone else. That's common sense, and that's okay. All right, you guys, thank you so much. I love you guys. It is good.